All right, so how do we get the user that made this recipe in the database? And let's
You can
first of
add
all,
a hidden
yeah,
input with the value being the
now you're talking.
session ID.
Now you're talking. So we need to add a hidden input. How do I do that?
Form input, and I think you just do type hidden.
The name should be method or no?
Then the path, yeah.
Yeah, so input type is hidden. The path is what?
User ID.
User ID. And what's the value?
Put,
Value just would be
post. Put,
is it session ID or is it
Yeah.
user ID?
Yeah, so the user that's logged in, right? When we logged in a user, make sure I didn't mess with it in here. Our home controller. Yep, so we set the user's ID in session under user ID, user capital ID. So in here, we can just take that, set the value to dollar curly's user ID. Okay, and that should do it. Let's try it out. So if I come back, try to add a recipe, invalid property user ID. What is the property on my recipe? I don't have a user ID property, right?
you have to create one.
Could create one, but I'm already keeping track of who the user is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the path always corresponds to one of our attributes. We have a user attribute. So let's try that. Let's make ice. Today, under 30 minutes. I guess it depends on how much ice you're making. Cool. So now I've got, and let's cheat and say that the meatloaf is user 1, 2. Cool. All right. So now, yeah. So now we're able to keep track of the who the recipe belongs to. Again, we'll come back to date made. I just want to make sure you guys get this part down. So now we've got some recipes in our database. We can display them here, right? So how do I get the recipes from my database to display?
We need to add to the service.
Yeah. So in my read all, I want to make a call to my service, right? So it's going to be recipes. And I'm going to call my database through my service. So it's going to be recipe service dot get all RECI recipes. Okay. What is recipes going to be?
A list.
A list of what?
Recipe.
List of recipe. Cool. Doesn't know what a list is, so I'm going to import that. And this method doesn't exist yet, so I'm going to make it. Okay, so here I have my get all recipes. How does who does the service talk to? Oops, I want to return it.
The,
Who does the
the repository.
right? So recipe repository dot find all. Okay, so now in my recipes, let's just make sure it's working. Okay, so now if I go back to my /recipes, there are my recipes. Okay, how do I get them to the front end?
Do we have to do the model thing here now?
Yep.
Okay.
So the box we put them in is model. Import model.
And then model dot add attribute.
Oops. Yep. Model dot add attribute. It's going to be recipes. And I'm going to send down the recipes variable. Cool. So now in my recipe.jsp, I should have all my recipes. Okay. And there they are. Okay, so oops, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. So we'll do the name and well, posted by is the most important one. So let's do the name and posted by. We can get to under 30 later, but so how do I? Well, first let's make the table. Table. No. Table, right? There we go. And T head is TH name TH posted by. Then T body. And now we want to loop, right? So how do I loop?
For each or C for each.
C for each.
The variable.
My variable of iteration is going to be, it's a bunch of recipes. So my variable of iteration is going to be recipe. And then my items is going to be this list of recipes that I'm getting. Oops. Try to cut it. There we go.
Mhm.
That list of recipes. Okay. So for each recipe, I want a table row. And my table data is going to be, let's start with $curly's recipe.name. See if that works. Okay, posted by. How do I get to the posted by?
That I'm stuck with.
What is it?
I'm stuck with the posted by.
I didn't hear the first part. I'm sorry.
Would it just be recipe dot user dot username?
So let's see what we do when we say recipe.user. We'll take baby steps. Okay, so if I just say recipe.user, okay, so I get the user object, right? And I forgot I put in that toString method. So normally, if you guys don't put in the toString method, you're going to get the recipe with the long, memory address. But I want the username, right? So I can grab this username property out of this object. So yeah, like Hamza said, it's just user dot username. Okay. Make sense?
Right. I got this one. But then, wait, Because I got this far, right?
Uh,
But then
uh.
when I go and log out and log into someone else, it changes to whoever's logged in.
Okay. So let's add my logout button. So I have it. So I have my logout. Okay. So now if I log out, okay, so now if we add a recipe, what's your best dish?
Mine,
Yeah.
lasagna.
Oh God. How do you spell it? L-A-Z-L.
S.
LASGNA. LAS, yeah, something like that. LASGNA.
LASAGNA.
L-A-S-A-G-N-A?
NA.
That
Yeah,
looks
there you
right. Okay. As soon as I see it, I can spell it. Okay, so today, under 30, no way.
Cool.
Cool.
Cool. What I messed up.
What's that?
Now I have to see what I missed.